Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Kate Komatz, and I'm the head counselor for elementary schools in Long Beach Unified.
And good evening. My name is Nora Valdez, and I am the head counselor for the middle school K-8 office. Before we begin, I would like to say something. I would just like to send some well wishes to the students and the community in Santa Clarita. And obviously, we do send our sympathies to the friends and families of those students that passed away last week.
Okay, so tonight we're going to be speaking on our original flyer. It did indicate that we're going to be talking about parenting in challenging times. As we got closer to presentation time, we did discuss about talking about the fact that we are going to be talking about suicide tonight. So it is a challenging topic, and I also am someone that often gets emotional when I present, so I'm going to try not to cry and get upset. So tonight's topic is challenging. We want to honor that, and we do want to just put it out there that we are going to be talking about suicide. So if you're not comfortable with the topic, or if you have young kids in the room, then please feel free to change the channel, so to speak. Again, this is a challenging topic, and we want to honor that. Nora and I will stay afterwards if you need to speak to us personally. We're happy to do that. So tonight's training is specifically for parents. We are doing the training across the district for counselors, and we will be training teachers as well along the way. Tonight's training is talking about facts of suicide. We'll be talking about protective factors, some of the warning signs, things to look for with your students or with your children, appropriate ways to interact with at-risk youth, and also we'll be sharing some resources. Okay, so just the facts. So without reading the slide in its entirety, and a lot of you here in the audience do have the slides in front of you as well. Suicide is the leading cause of death for people 10 to 24 years old in the state of California, and has been rising steadily since 2007. More teenagers and young adults die from suicide than any other disease or illness. Males are 4 times more likely to die by suicide, and females are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide. And 4 out of 5 teens who attempt suicide have given clear warning signs. And so we'll be talking about some of those warning signs tonight and what to look for. So again, just to reiterate, this is something that unfortunately is on the rise. Roughly 1 in 10 suicides in the United States does occur in California. That's largely in part to the fact that we have so many people in California. So the numbers are skewed percentage-wise. It's not necessarily in higher percentage. We often hear about gunshot suicides or suicide by a firearm, but the most popular form or most common is strangulation or hangings. The highest youth at risk are Hispanics, whites, and the LGBTQ community. Okay, next. We're having technical difficulties. Click it on there. Sorry, we're bound by our slides because we want to stay focused. And I believe this is Nora.
So when we talk about protective factors, we are talking about conditions and attributes that will help individuals, families, and the community in a whole to help straighten the young people's ability to deal more effectively with stress in their lives, and also to help mitigate any suicidal thoughts. And some of those protective factors are having social supports. I always associate social supports too with family. I know I have teenage boys, and their big social network is their cousins. They can rely on their cousins for that support. Feeling connected, we're going to talk a bit about that, and how students can be connected to adults and peers on campus or even outside with their family and friends. Willing to obtain treatment. Oftentimes, we do refer students to organizations to get therapy and counseling, and it really benefits the students to go follow through with the entire sessions. And we do recommend that they do that, because by going through all the sessions, then they will get all the coping strategies they need in order to cope with any situation that comes their way. Also, strong spiritual and religious ties. We know that if you are religious, there's a sense of purpose in life. So that's another protective factor. Also, being physically healthy. When I mean physically healthy, I think of two things: being active and also eating healthy. We know that our teenagers, our young children, they don't know how to manage their meals. So if they are able to know when they're physically drained and need that fuel in them, that will really support them tremendously. And also participating in extracurricular activities. That could be being involved in a school sport, that could be a club on campus, it could be any other organization that they're involved with outside of school as well. So being hopeful and having coping strategies creates resiliency. It makes them stronger. Positive connections in school. I have to let all of the parents know that Long Beach Unified is very big on this. We want students to feel that adults, teachers, students on campus are loving, that they're caring, and they're there for them. So we do have a big emphasis in every school with our culture and climate on building connections. So if students have that positive connection with someone at school, it will enhance their internal resources and external resources. So what I mean by internal, it's that if they do have the positive connection, then they're able to express their emotions with that person that they have that connection with. So they're able to feel validated, and they will express their feelings more often. By having that internal connection with these adults and peers on campus, then their external resources get bigger. So what I mean by that is, when you have that connection, now they are that external resource. That adult or that other peer is that external resource. Let's say, Johnny is very active in school and he's always very happy. Well, now that external resource, that positive connection that he made with that teacher or that student, if Johnny comes in school and feels really down and he's not that happy person that he is, those external resources, they're going to take notice. They're going to wonder, hey, Johnny, what's wrong with you today? So that's what I mean by external resources. And they are more likely to ask for help from these trusted adults. They're also able to come into maybe the counseling office and ask for help as well. In my experience as a counselor for 13 years and also having worked at the high school level, I can tell you that over 75% of the students that came into my office that I had to evaluate and assess for suicide assessment, those referrals came from teachers and their peers. So that tells you a lot about the importance of building that positive connection with other adults on campus. So just to recap, some of the factors that can help reduce suicide attempts: trusted adults. Youth who have an adult to go for help are less likely to attempt suicide. School safety. Youth who feel safe at school are less likely to attempt suicide. And being active in extracurricular activities. they are less likely to attempt suicide. And I'm passing it over to Ms. Kate.
Thank you. So Nora got to speak about the positive things and the things that we can look for our students to help them out. I unfortunately am going to go back to the topic of the risk factors of youth suicide. So these are things to kind of look for in your children. There really are no predictors of youth suicide, although, and I'm going to have to read this, I apologize, I'm going to have to put my glasses on. Although the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So if a student has made an attempt before, they are at greater risk of attempting again. So that's important to note. It's best to describe these 7 factors that are listed below, or I'm sorry, 8 factors, as 8 lights on like a popular street. So to go from thinking about suicide to attempting suicide, all the lights have to turn green in a perfect storm. So the dangerous part is that if all the lights turn green, a teen can go from thinking about suicide to attempting in 4 minutes, especially if the second light presence of a firearm is green. Okay, so Nora does such a calm job with this. Okay. So the important thing with that is that these factors, like I said, they're not necessarily something that that all have to be in line, but they do increase a student's or a child's likelihood of committing suicide. So with that being said, alcohol and substance abuse is a huge factor. Accessibility to a firearm, a student being depressed, previous suicidal behaviors, hopelessness, and impulsivity, especially impulsivity with teens and young adults. Oftentimes they're not obviously thinking of the horrible outcome. So I do need to switch the slide. Okay, promise I won't cry anymore. Or I didn't really cry, but got a little choked up. Okay, so the next part are high-risk youth. So this is, again, kind of aligning with those factors. So students that are exposed to suicide are more likely to attempt suicide if they've had it in their community or in their family. That can be really difficult. Youth who use alcohol and/or illicit drugs report higher rates of suicidal ideation and are 10 times more likely to attempt suicide and 4 times more likely to die by suicide. So alcohol abuse is definitely associated with a greater frequency and more lethal suicide attempts. They also talk about parental intoxication, so parents that are using drugs or alcohol and not really paying attention to their students or children who are also using drugs and alcohol is a factor that can be lethal. Eating disorders are also mentioned, that students or children with anorexia it increases their risk by 5 times for attempting suicide and 6 times for bulimia. For bullies and victims, it's the bully and the victim that can be students that are considering suicide. So it's not just the students that are being bullied, it is often, or can be the bully as well. And I know I'm not going in order. So for depressed or mental illness, of those who die by suicide, 90% have a mental illness and 60% of them, and they are the ones that will die by suicide 60% of the time. So I thought that was a pretty staggering statistic and very upsetting. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and questioning youth have higher rates of family rejection and fear and peer victimization, and they are 3 times more likely to report suicidal ideation and 8 times more likely to have attempted suicide. So that is a community that we are focusing on a lot in Long Beach Unified, especially with our middle school and high school students. and we're a little more heightened awareness of what their needs are and their needs to be connected to our school community. Next one. Okay, I think we're back to Nora.
Okay, thank you. So I know I've asked, so what causes suicide? Can we tell who is going to who will act and die of suicide? And there is no answer. We can't predict who will die of suicide. And students and kids aren't suicidal 24/7. And like we mentioned, all of the factors already. There are 2 factors that come together to propel a student to go down a self-destructive path. And so think of it this way. You have the chronic factor, which is the fuel. So it's the wood there ready for the fire. And then you have this precipitating event that will ignite it. So like I stated before, there is no predictions, but we do know that these 2 factors have to come into play. And just to go a little more on the other slide, the one we just saw, so 95% of those that die by suicide have some form of mental illness. And 60% of the time, that mental illness is a mood disorder, such as depression. So when we look at, for girls, for example, the 2 factors are depression and alcohol abuse. So depression would be the fuel, and what will ignite it will be that alcohol and substance abuse. For boys, the most common are depression and conduct disorder. So conduct disorder could be emotionally disturbed, acting out. So if you're depressed and you're acting out on things, does that make sense? Yeah. So I know it was on the slide, but it wasn't on the slide. But for boys, when you have depression and a conduct disorder, for example, we have students on IEPs. Some of them will be on an IEP, and their classification will be emotionally disturbed. So that would be a conduct disorder. And there is some research, but I don't want to state exactly what, because I don't know the exact research or a percentage, but there is a high percentage of suicide deaths for males who have depression and are classified special education. But like I say, I don't have the exact statistics. Okay, what are some of these situational crises that will ignite the fuel, like we stated before? Loss. And for teenagers, the 3 big ones are, the first one, loss of a romance. You know that teenagers, they lose, they break up with their boyfriend, girlfriend. That is the end. And then another one is death. So if they've experienced death in the family. Also, it is important to state too that if that death in the family was by suicide, a suicide in the family can affect the family for 7 generations. And the other one is dignity. Right now, we have a lot of students being bullied at school. So it's cyberbullying or being humiliated in public. Being a victim or exposure to violence. So I know I've worked with students where, they will not go outside for the fear of them witnessing, somebody getting beat up or the police coming and arresting someone. Or in some of our neighborhoods, we have had students who have witnessed an actual death by gunshots. So a school crisis, that would be disciplinary or academic. I know my son in kindergarten, he cried all day at school because he got a red card. So we think, that in kindergarten, you got a red card. It won't affect you in the future, but you can see how traumatic it could be, even for a student who's in kindergarten. So imagine as they get older and there's high expectations from parents, there's high expectations from their teachers. So when they get in trouble or they're failing academically, that can trigger. A family crisis, abuse, domestic violence. For students, the top two are argument with a parent or witnessing domestic abuse. Like I stated earlier, I did work in high school for the past, I worked in high school for 11 years. And I do not want to take the sexual abuse for granted, because a lot of, I know it says abuse there for family crisis, but I would like to add another parenthesis to it and put sexual abuse. Our students, maybe when they were younger, they were not able to express what was going on, but as they got older, they realized what happened to them when they were younger was not right. And I could tell you, I've worked with some therapists, and they have told me that, I've asked, because, we're school counselors, so we refer students to agencies, therapists, psychologists, and one of them told me, Nora, for sexual abuse, they always feel like they did something wrong. So that's where the therapy comes in. And on average, it could be 4 years of therapy in order for them to understand that what happened to them, they were not at fault. And exposure to suicide. So for every death by suicide, 135 people are exposed, and up to a third will have this loss be a life-changing event. Four out of 5 youth say something, do something, write, or draw something that comes to the attention of an adult or peer. So if your child displays any of the suicide signs, please turn to the school or professional immediately. I wanted to read that first, and I wanted to ask anyone who's here if they know how many days is a student in school. 180. How many did you? 145. So, yes, on average, students are in school for 180 days. Now, research says that we humans are awake between 5,500 hours to 6,000 hours in the year. So when we think of a student who comes to school 180 days, they're approximately 1,000 hours in school. If we are awake between 5,500 and 6,000 hours, you can see that the majority of the time that the students are awake, they are in our care or outside. When I mean our care, I'm sorry, I'm putting myself as a parent as well because I have children. And so we sometimes have this idea that, children are in school all day, but they are actually with us more of their waking hours. So with this slide, I want to emphasize that parents, we are the gatekeepers. We know our children. We know when they, when they might not have a good day. We know when something is wrong. As a mother, as parents, we have intuitions. So I just wanted to point that out with the hours.
Is it on? Okay, thanks. When it says please turn to the school, in particular, is that a teacher? Is that a counselor on the site? What is that?
So when it says please turn to the school or professional immediately, yes, the counselor, I did have that in my notes, and I didn't read it because I know I'm going to say it later in the presentation. Just feel good that Long Beach Unified, our board policies do place a lot of emphasis on suicide ideation. So the counselors, we have been getting training. We have training on suicide assessment. Our psychologists do as well. So whenever, like we said, if your student has a connected relationship with someone, or they have a positive connection, whether it's their friends or teachers or any other adult on campus, and you have any suspicion or any worry, please feel free to make an appointment with your counselor. Yeah. And like I stated earlier, over 75% of the time, another peer or a teacher will come to the counselor with that concern. And so then after that concern comes to us, then we do our assessments, and then we do our referrals to other agencies. If it's, thank you for asking, because sometimes there's a situation that happens Friday night, or we're gonna go on vacation and we're gonna be off for a week, or we're off for those 2 weeks during the Christmas holiday. I could tell you, as school counselors, this Friday coming up is very busy for us. The days right before Christmas break, they're very busy for us, because the students now, maybe all those positive connections that they have at school, once they're gone, they're going to these risk factors that are up here, whether it's home violence or any other factor up there. Please do not hesitate to take them to the emergency room. Health professionals are trained. Health professionals know what to do. I often tell the parent, if they see anything in their child, maybe they're not eating well, maybe they are not sleeping well, make that appointment to the pediatrician. My children, when I take them in to see the pediatrician, now the pediatricians too have a little survey that they give the children when they come in. It's 3-4 questions, and it asks, do you feel sad? Do you feel sad every day? It depends on the office, I'm assuming, but I know that's what happened with my children. They gave them the little survey, and then when they go in to see the doctor, they just fold it up. The nurse tells them, can you answer these questions? And when you go in to see the doctor, hand it over to them. And also, don't be afraid to talk about suicide. Just don't be afraid. I know it's a tough subject. It really is. My own children, they know how passionate I am about my job, and they already know if they're having a bad time, they know mom is going to ask, are you okay? What happened? Just giving them a hug. And sometimes we just need to listen. I know I've learned that. And so I have thanked all the students that I worked with, because I've said, because of you, I'm able to be a better mother or be able to listen to my own children. And I'm sorry, I'm going off topic a little bit.
from somebody who's watching at home. She wants to know, are counselors available, do students have access to psychologists during the school day? And you could talk to the access to counselors, maybe?
So, school psychologists, some of them do share school sites. So, the school counselor, though, would be your first point of contact. And then we would do the referral to the school psychologist. Okay, so what are some of the other warning signs of suicide? Suicide notes, texts, social media. Suicide notes are not very common now because we have all the social media. So we have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you suspect anything, and ma'am, just like you were saying about if you have any concerns with them when it's a holiday, when there's something on social media that you have a concern about, please do not hesitate, do not wait till school starts. You know, there's the agency's Twitter, Facebook. You can make reports. You could go online and make reports on that. You can, law enforcement if it's something very severe. So please don't hesitate. Threats. Sometimes, the students are saying, I want to die. I am going to kill myself. Sometimes they might not be that direct. No one will miss me. The world will be a better place without me. Depression, lack of energy, lack of enthusiasm for life. Depression looks the same as children as it looks in adults. It looks the same. When an adult is depressed, they don't want to socialize. That will happen with the students as well. Sleep. We know we don't want to go out. We just want to sleep. That will happen with students as well. As a counselor, those things, as far as depression and not wanting to, just feeling hopeless and having a lack of enthusiasm for life really worries me. So when we have some parents, I know there is a lot of requests for homeschooling, but if a student is home alone, I cringe. It really worries me. So, that's a warning sign for me. Risk-taking behaviors, drinking, driving, alcohol, substance abuse, having a plan. Part of our, as counselors, part of our assessment is to ask the student, do you have a plan? Do you have access to pills for girls? Do you have access to a gun? Do you guys have sharp knives at home? But we asked those questions. Giving away prized possessions, so making final arrangements. It could be maybe the student never gave hugs before, and now he's going around hugging everyone, telling them they love him. Anything out of the ordinary, abnormal. And I'm sorry, this is it keeps going, but we really do have to cover all the topics. Feeling like a burden, isolation and lack of belonging. Those go in hand with what I told you earlier, that really worries me. When a student is isolated, when they're home alone, when there's no one there with them, when they're not out and about. Sudden changes in behavior, so they don't eat, sleeping habits, they sleep a lot. In elementary school age children, some of the warning signs are maybe they threaten to run into traffic. Maybe they say, I'm going to jump off the building, or they start cutting and scratching their body. For young children, know that they react on instinct. So they're just actions. For teens, they react on emotions. They're not thinking logically. So all their all their actions are just based on their emotion. They break up and now it's in the world, well, everything's emotional. So please, and once again, if any of these warning signs are present, please contact a professional. So don't wait until Monday if you see something alerting on Friday evening or over the weekend.
Okay, I'm going to stand here. So again, just a lot of this is a little bit redundant, but we just want to hit home with a couple key topics or key areas. Like Nora had mentioned, it's important to not be afraid to talk about suicide. You're talking about it. If it was not anything that was on the child's mind, then they're probably just going to say, I'm not even thinking about that. Like, why are you even talking about that? But if it is something that they have been thinking about, they might feel more comfortable to open up because you're just being direct and honest about it. So again, if you're going to mention suicide or talk about it, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to give them an idea and they're going to do it. If they've already been thinking about it, then it doesn't matter if you bring it up or not as the first time. Knowing the risk factors and warning signs, so a lot of the things that we've talked about tonight are very important to be kind of aware of if they're kind of starting to add up, that there's some things coming up that you hadn't thought about before. It just is a heightened awareness. It's important at any age of your child that you would offer, support in going to get help, either speaking to someone at the school site or speaking to a medical doctor or a therapist to offer to go with them. They talk about tightening up their circle of care. So maybe if your child is not opening up to you at the moment or is not really connecting with you or anyone in the home, maybe you have a trusted neighbor, someone, Nora mentioned cousins can be very important, maybe an uncle, a teacher, someone at the school site. So maybe talk to them about talking to your child to get the help that they need, someone else that they could trust. And then, of course, removing all lethal means out of the home. That's, of course, difficult with knives and whatnot, but there are ways, obviously, of doing that if you need to. So when you're trying to give them some guidance, them meaning the children that are struggling. So again, these are just some key little phrases to say to the child. I'm concerned about how you feel and cannot let anything happen to you. So again, the communication is important. A lot of times teenagers might not acknowledge and don't want to acknowledge that you care, or they think you don't understand, but just by saying it, they might outwardly, or act like they don't care, but they are hearing the message. Thanking them for confiding in you and telling them that you don't want them to hurt themselves. Telling them, I'm sorry that this happened to you if something happened at school that was upsetting or something that happened to a friend of theirs. And then I'm here if you want to talk. So sometimes they may not want to talk in the moment, but maybe they'll come back to you later. I found that someone gave me this advice very many years ago, and it's been very helpful, that trapped in the car can be a good place to talk, where you don't have to make eye contact, and they can be near you or in the back, and you can ask questions, and it doesn't seem so intense as like right across the table or right sitting on the couch. So sometimes the car, someone said on the freeway where they can't easily jump out of the car, can be even a better place. So to have those kind of more challenging conversations or can be helpful in a vehicle when it's moving. So when your child experiences a loss by suicide, it's important to offer support, reaching out to family members or other people that the student or your child cares about. Offer to go to the funeral if that's something that feels right for them. Talk about ways that are normal to react to a traumatic event, crying, as I demonstrated earlier today. Getting upset, getting angry, those are all normal emotions. Some people react in different ways, and then this actually reminds me of a story that unfortunately in high school I did have a student who was hit by a car in front of me, and my reaction was to laugh hysterically, which was totally inappropriate, but it was one of those things, like it totally caught me off guard. I just started like laughing, and I couldn't really stop laughing. And if you remember being a teenager, laughing hysterically, and sometimes you just can't stop. So again, that is sometimes a reaction that seems really inappropriate, but it does happen sometimes that it's just you don't know how to respond. So that may be something that seems inappropriate at the time, but can be a normal, natural response. I did apologize to him later, I just want you to know. And we talked about it at our high school reunion this summer, so we're good now. If you are concerned about one of your friends, please, again, what Nora said, please try to help, tell your child that they can help their friends and take their friend to go see the counselor or take their friend somewhere else. I think I just clicked. And it's also super important that in these traumatic times that you do try to keep normalcy and routine. I think sometimes parents want to keep kids, their own children home with them and or maybe go to the hospital or, have days of mourning. And really kids, especially younger kids, I can't speak, I don't want to say too much about teenagers because it might be a little bit different. But with younger children, normalcy and routine is super important. Obviously it is sad. There is a time to mourn and be upset, but keeping things in routine helps them to know that they're going to be okay. And making a favorite meal or doing something positive or doing like an activity that's fun or something that they enjoy. Okay, I did that without crying. Are you guys happy? I am. Okay. Is this me or you? Okay, so this is, actually I think this was you, but okay, since I'm on a roll and not crying. So again, it's really what we wanted you to walk away with today is that you have some more kind of tools in your toolbox, things that you are aware of to help your children or your neighbor's children or your nieces or nephews or whoever. So again, it comes back down to a caring person. So it may be you, it may be someone in the neighborhood, it may be a teacher or a counselor or a school psychologist or the doctor that can help. And those really are the greatest protective factors. There are treatments for all risk factors of youth suicide, and kids can, get better and can be resilient and are resilient. So I think that's important, that this could be a difficult time in a child's life. Being a teenager is hard, and kids go through months where they're kind of, like Nora said, they're kind of down, they're kind of bummed, they're kind of not themselves. But it doesn't mean that's forever. It can get better. They just might need a little time and a little support, and things can definitely improve. So why don't you wrap it up?
And again, I did emphasize again, we all play a big role in suicide prevention. I know this has come up several times right now in these 40 minutes that we have been together, but as a counselor, and I'm gonna just put it out there and say it, I expect parents and guardians to really follow through with referrals that we make. This, like we have emphasized, this isn't a one-day fix. And the sooner we get the students to the right professional that can help them, the better they will be. When we do suicide assessments as counselors, I am very honest with the students when they come in, because there are some times when I have to make an extra call because further action has to be taken if this is a very serious threat. And I tell the student, I'm honest, I tell them, as a school counselor, I don't have the tools to help you. For example, you are not going to go to a dentist to get heart surgery. And that's the way I explain it to them. So I tell them, I need to refer you out to someone that can help you. But, you know, it does take time. It takes time. And like I said, just be patient, but be present. Be present is what you definitely have to be. And once again, please, if we give you a referral, please act on it in a timely manner. Okay, thank you for being here. There are, a question.
You start. We did have another viewer at home who wanted to ask about self-harm and cutting. And the question was about, do teachers disclose this? And I might even take it a step further. If counselors or if teachers see that students are having warning signs, are teachers obligated to call the parent? Or I'm wondering, the parent is asking, do teachers disclose this? And I thought your thoughts on that.
So teachers will report it to the counselor. And then we will take the appropriate action. Also, I wanted to mention, and I know, Kate will have some closing thoughts too. We do, she's going to go over some local resources, and we will also let you know where there's some resources online as well. Thank you for being here.
So, as Nora said, we have some great agencies here in Long Beach that are super supportive of our students and families. One that I would highlight, raise your hand if you have teenagers in the home or over 12 years old, okay? I feel for you too. I have teenagers in the home. So there is a great agency on Long Beach Boulevard, and it's close to Long Beach Boulevard and Wardlow. And that is, I'm not seeing it up here. The one on, it's through Starview. I'm totally blanking on the name. I will get that for you, but it is a behavioral health organization, and they definitely will take students that are in crisis, and they will only take starting at 12 years old. So I work primarily with elementary school students, and they are definitely for the 12 and older. It might even be 13. So middle school, high school age students that are having like a mental health crisis or suicidal thoughts can go there. Parents can walk them in as well. It is just, it would be kind of an emergency facility. So these are some of the agencies that are available. Some of the links are on there. And we also have on our district website, the lbusd.com, on their lbschools.net, C for Community Resource Guide, and that has lots of great resources on there as well. A lot of teens prefer to text. So there are, this teen line is open 6 to 10 p.m. nightly, and they can text messages and get support through text if they're having a low moment. So again, this might just be something that you would have if you have a concern about your child. You could just have that available or so that they would know, so it's not necessarily a lot of pressure. Know the Signs is another, I believe it's an app or a online resource. And these are some national resources, NAMI and the National Child and Traumatic Stress Network. And the Trevor Project is Saving a Young Lives, which is a website that has lots of different resources as well that could be helpful. And those are some references from our program. So we're going to stay after if you want to chat. And then do we have any more questions online?
I think that was it. The one last one was about a follow-up to the cutting question was, is it confidential to the student? So if someone reports,
You mean
if I'm not sure what if a parent reports something to maybe a counselor, would the student know who called maybe?
Not necessarily. I mean, if the parent wanted it to be anonymous and have the counselor or the school psychologist or someone follow up, then they could just say, we saw your arm, or we saw, usually it's on the arms, or legs. So that is a good question. I mean, I think we try to keep confidentiality, but obviously if it needed to be something a little more serious, we would have to refer out for additional support. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for having us.
We just wanted to say thank you, yes, to Ms. Cometz and Ms. Valdez. We want to give a round of applause. That's appropriate. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. There are still a lot of questions that are coming through online about the resources, and if you were to, at home, also, when you guys get home, if you click on the links that are below the workshop, we have all of the handouts that are in there. They gave some extra resources that are in that link below, and you can also find the PowerPoint. So if you wanted access to the PowerPoint, it is in the link below. That is on our lbschools.net website. If you go to our YouTube page, all of the workshops that we've done are on our webpage. So if you are watching tonight and you want to watch it in a few days, it will be at lbschools.net. If you want to watch any of the workshops we've done on the last 2 months on Tuesday nights, they are also at lbschools.net at our Parent University YouTube page. We want to say thank you to OMS, the Multimedia Services Department, for coming out and videotaping all of our workshops for the last 2 months. We would like to thank Mr. Salas, the principal here at Poly High School, and the staff at Poly High School for welcoming and hosting us here in Poly. And we'd like to thank all the parents for coming and the parents who are watching at home and supporting our work in Parent University. So thank you. Have a happy holiday. And we will be back in the spring with more workshops. So thank you for coming out tonight. Thanks.